wanted to make a Pokemon game. I don't know if this would be allowed, but you catch Bitcoiners, so all the famous Bitcoiners are like Pokemon, and you have to capture them, and then you're fighting them against each other or something. I don't know, I thought it'd be funny.
Grab your controller, it's time for a ride in a pixelated world. We're turning the tide. He was just an ordinary guy, feeling kinda stuck in a rut when the world was mean. He took it upon himself to be the hero of Bitcoin. He hopped on his plane, it was time to explore to El Salvador, where legends are born. With his trusty sword, he was ready to fight against the poop coins and the evil Big Bang spite. He's the hero of Bitcoin, ready to take flight. With the power of the lightning blockchain, he's gonna make it right. In this retro world, he'll conquer all strife, the champion of Bitcoin, the hero of our life.
Today we're going to talk about Hero of Bitcoin because I don't know if you know, but if you don't, you probably need to know that this video game is based in El Salvador, so it's quite interesting. So you told me that you have never been in El Salvador, but you made a pretty great work on this thing, on the game.
Oh, thank you. I put in a lot of hours researching El Salvador, looking at places, famous locations. Also, I asked people on X what things I actually include and whatnot. So
it's interesting. Yeah, I was telling you that of course there are some things that are not quite accurate, but I mean it's a retro game, but most of the thing is like, damn, it's quite good and it's quite nice.
Thank you.
So yeah, man. So I don't know, the way I like to kick this thing off is if you can. All right, so let's make a situation. If you meet someone at a party or a bar and had to explain to someone who had no context whatsoever what you are doing, so how do you explain it? What's the pitch?
What I'm doing? Like, what am I making? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
I just tell them straight. I'm a crazy guy making a Bitcoin game for a 30-year-old console that I grew up with. And most people who I talk to are usually my age, and they think it's awesome because, you know, it's just pure nostalgia.
What do you think is something with us that millennials? I think that I have read in an article a few months ago that millennials, we are one of the generation, if not the most nostalgic one, because we grew up between the retro things and the evolution of the internet. So we have the old stuff that our parents had, but now we have the things that now Z generation have, you know, so we're in the middle and at the same time we're nowhere. So what do you think about that?
Well, yeah, we are very unique in that. And I think the beauty of these old consoles is that when you go back and play them, they're exactly how you remember it. Like every pixel, all the sounds are exactly how you remember them. And it brings you back to that moment. So yeah, I think, you know, our parents and stuff don't have that experience because they never had consoles. So yeah, we're very lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for people that maybe don't know about you, if you can give a small introduction about yourself, and then we can talk about how you got into Bitcoin and all that stuff.
Sure. So people call me Hero. I started off as a pixel artist. Actually, before that, I first got into Bitcoin mid 2017. And as most people, I went to the altcoins and did some stupid stuff and did some day trading, stuff like that. And after a while, doing a lot of research, I realized that altcoins are trash and Bitcoin is the revolution. Once that happened, I started to think, how can I not just, you know, buy Bitcoin? How can I be a part of the culture and make the culture and bring people to the right way? So I started off making pixel art pictures for people. So Samsung was one of the first people I made a pixel art display picture for. So he had his bear. I don't know if you know his bear character, but I made a pixel art version of that, and he made his profile picture. And so people got to know me, and I started charging sats for making people's picture. And then I made one for Michael Saylor, and Michael Saylor shared it. and so I got a lot of people following
Yeah,
me
I
there.
saw that one.
Yeah, that's where most people followed me on X. And then from there, I found out I was looking into, how else I can use my skills. And I found there's many tools nowadays to make Game Boy games, and pixel art was perfect for that because it's all pixel art on Game Boy. So that's how I came to make the game.
Awesome. And when do you find the value of Bitcoin? I mean, not monetarily. I mean, when do you understand Bitcoin for the first
How long
time?
ago?
No, like when or what made you understand Bitcoin?
So I was watching a lot of YouTubers, and it was mainly I think watching Max Kaiser on YouTube and stuff, and how he was just so adamant. And it wasn't just him. Also, it was a bunch of things. It was finding that everyone who became a Bitcoiner didn't go back to being an altcoiner. Like there's only one direction. Everyone eventually led to Bitcoin. So I'm like, why is everyone stopping at Bitcoin once they hit Bitcoin? So I thought there's something that I didn't understand. So that's when I did much more research on it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know that it's right. And that's really interesting because I got into Bitcoin as well with Max Kaiser. Actually, my dad was a huge fan of Max Kaiser on his show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he told me like, and he's not even an economist; he's a doctor, but he just liked those stuff. Right? And once he shared with me an episode, a clip that on RT that he was doing about his show, and told me about Bitcoin. I was like, interesting. And then it was just a rabbit hole, but yeah, it was a combination of stuff. For me, I'm an engineer, so I learned a bit about Bitcoin, but in terms of blockchain, and it was really boring back then. I don't know if it was the teacher or I don't know, but it was just boring. So I just throw it away. I learned about it and I was like, nah. But then, it's really interesting because then I told you that my sister went to Australia, and when she came back, it was before pandemic. She started talking to me about Bitcoin, and I was like, where did you hear about Bitcoin? It wasn't about my dad. I'm sure about that. So she told me like, in Australia, it's super popular. I have a lot of friends that know about Bitcoin, invest in Bitcoin, and so on. I was like, really? And actually, right now I'm thinking that you're the first person that I'm talking from Australia. So is that true? It's quite popular. Bitcoin.
Yeah, it depends what year. Like right now, I don't find many people talking about it at all. Like other than I got my dad and stuff into it, but other than that, no one really talks about it here. And it's sort of something that I have to sort of hide a little bit from some people. But back in those days when your sister was talking about it, yeah, it was really popular.
Yeah, it was around.
It's always when it goes up near the top, everyone gets pulled in. So yeah,
probably. All right, so I want to know how you started. Where do you got the idea to make a specific Bitcoin game to develop in Game Boy? So Game Boy is your favorite console, or?
My favorite console is actually the Super Nintendo, but I love all the Nintendo consoles, and I actually had an original Game Boy. Not this one specifically, but it looked exactly like this. I had to rebuy it later because I sold it when I was a kid. I love it. Like lots of retro games. I love all the Mario games on it, and also Wario Land. Some really great Game Boy games out there. Plus, I got Wario Land here too, actually. So yeah, that game's amazing. I recommend it.
Yeah, I see that one. I have seen one that it's called. Probably you have it because I have seen that. Oh, that's Mario Land. Was the one. But I think there's a version 2 or something, right?
There's a version 2 that's even better. Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite games.
And it's rare, right? Because because I was watching the price of it, and it was like super expensive. I mean, right now it's around 100 each, the Game Boy game, but that one was around 300, 500. I was like, it has big collection because there's no other way that it's so expensive right now. Yeah.
And that's sort of why, like, I'm a big collector. Like, my wall is filled with different Nintendo games, and I wanted to make something that I would love as well. And I just thought, if I love it, there must be other people out there that love it. Getting there, because this game isn't just a game; it comes in the original packaging with the manual and the cart and the dust protector, exactly how you'd get an original Game Boy game.
And how actually was to develop this game? I mean, how do you got inspired to do this specific game with this specific story?
I got inspired by many games. One of them was Secret of Mana, obviously Mario, Legend of Zelda 2 for the original Nintendo, which is like a side-scrolling with towns. It actually has a world map, which I didn't do, but I'm thinking about doing that for the second one, having a world map, making it more similar to Zelda. So that's
also there's going to be a second part or a second.
Well, I can't promise it. It's very early days. There's a lot of. I mean, it took me 2.5 years for this first game, and if I make a second one, it'd be significantly bigger. So, and I have a daytime job, like I don't have spare time, So it just depends, But I do hope that eventually, once Bitcoin goes up a lot, I'll be able to, once I'm more financially independent, I'll be able to quit my day job and work on it, finish it one day.
I was just checking the Zelda games, and I have this one that I haven't played yet. That is Legend of Zelda, the Minish Cap.
Oh, the Minish Cap. Oh, yeah. I think I've got his little sprite here.
Really? No way.
No, I've just got this little pixel art thing. Isn't that? I think that's from Minish Cap.
Probably, yeah. I played one, I think, but it was too old. I think it was with the Super Nintendo,
Oh, yeah. That's
so beautiful.
Link Awakening. Yeah, I've got it here. This one, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I played that.
That
was, I think, my first game that I played in a Super Nintendo. It's super nice. So it's going to be like that?
I'm hoping so. But it'll have a world map, so it'll be slightly different. Yeah. But a lot of work involved.
Yeah, I figured. So we were talking about the game. So the story of El Salvador. So, I mean, I get that you got inspired to do it also because we made legal.
Yeah, that was the main reason. Yeah.
All right.
So I thought that because it was such a great setting, because how many games do you know that are made in El Salvador? I can't think of any, but can you?
I think you're the third one. Probably.
I could be the first one. So I hope that El Salvadorians can play the game one day. Maybe
or Bukele.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I hope I don't think he knows about it, but I hope one day he does. Because, yeah, I've even, I've done some art with him as well. Him with the IMF building.
Yeah, I think in one of the first scenes that you're in the airport, at least I have played the demo, so I don't know if something have changed, but there's a place entering the airport, right? That there's a art exhibition, and it's the one that you mentioned about Michael Saylor. It's also that one, right? That's
right. Yeah, yeah. In the full game, there's a few more artworks in there, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was good to have a good setting about El Salvador is Bitcoin country, and having everything, all the bad guys being altcoins and bankers and fake Toshi and all that sort of and bears. They're all like the bad guys in this. So I tried to make it all got to do with Bitcoin, and so it's just a bit of a fun story that I hope all Bitcoiners enjoy, and even non-Bitcoiners. I hope it can turn a few heads and people get interested in Bitcoin.
And what has been the reception so far in general?
Yeah, it's better than I expected. We sold out on the first batch. We're going to make a second batch, and from there we're going to actually probably give the game out for free, not with the box and everything, but just digital version. So I want everyone to play it, and I want it to be something like how like everyone tries to get Doom running on everything. I sort of want this game to be run on everything, people try and get running on different cold wallets and things like that, so I thought it'd be fun.
Yeah,
have you ever seen that?
I think not,
Doom?
but
they say Doom can run on everything, and they have it on different stuff.
That's really cool. No, I was just brainstorming because I was thinking about these educational projects that are in El Salvador. I don't know if you know, like, for example, The Little Hodler. It's quite popular, the comic book. So Lina Saish is the one that made The Little Hodler, and she makes these. Yeah, so she makes these beautiful comics explaining Bitcoin or something.
Yep, I've read them. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, so right now she lives in El Salvador right now, and she's working with the Ministry of Education, and she's going to launch a book for kids teaching about Bitcoin. And then there's another project in El Salvador that it's called Node Nation, that they teach Bitcoin by playing, because kids are fun, their slogan, and they apply it. Really nice. So I was thinking that, do you think that video games could also be a good way to orange peel the next
Definitely.
generations?
I think if you look at any kids, and everyone is drawn to learning while having fun is like the ultimate thing, learning while you're playing. Doesn't feel like learning if you're playing.
Yeah. And I was thinking, if you could remake, because we were talking about also about Pokemon, but and all the other games that are the fart. If you could remake any classic,
I got that too.
The red version. If you could remake any classic games of those, and you can add something about Bitcoin, which one will be, man?
It'd be a lot of work, but I actually thought this is one of the things I was thinking about, because I thought of making different types of games. And well, I ended up with a platform, because platformers are much quicker to make, because it's very straightforward, linear. I wanted to make a Pokemon game. I don't know if this would be allowed, but you catch Bitcoiners. So all the famous Bitcoiners are like Pokemon, and you have to capture them, and then you're fighting them against each other or something. I don't know. I thought it'd be funny.
No, but hold on. There's here in Spain, like last year, I think, let me check really quick here. So I'm gonna give you the context while I'm searching. Here in Spain, some streamers make a Pokemon game, but it was with all the streamer characters. Hold on. And the Pokemons were, I think, were invented with some names, but the characters were all the most famous streamers in Spain. So I was like, it could be a really good idea. Cuando dejas tus activos digitales en un exchange o en custodia de alguien más, te expones a riesgos de terceros no deseados. A diferencia del sistema bancario tradicional, Bitcoin te permite tomar el control total de tus fondos utilizando tus propias claves privadas. Esto te permite ser soberano y esencialmente tu propio banco. Al tomar el control de tus Bitcoin, puedes evitar riesgos innecesarios de terceros. Almacenar tus Bitcoin en custodia de terceros, como los exchanges, puede exponerte a ataques de actores malintencionados, gobiernos o estafadores que lo único que quieren es apoderarse de tu dinero. El proceso de autocustodia puede parecer abrumador al principio, pero afortunadamente Blockstream Jade Wallet hace que sea súper fácil custodiar tus activos. Las billeteras de hardware son dispositivos que almacenan de forma segura las claves privadas de tus bitcoins y activos de Liquid sin conexión a internet. Las billeteras de hardware aumentan la seguridad de tu billetera porque tus claves privadas se almacenan en un dispositivo especializado que no está siempre conectado al internet. Como te he dicho antes, mantener tus claves almacenadas en un dispositivo en línea puede exponerte a factores adicionales de ataque, por lo que se recomienda usar una billetera de hardware al almacenar grandes cantidades de Bitcoin durante largos periodos de tiempo. Jade es una billetera de hardware no custodial para Bitcoins y Liquid que ofrece opciones de firma simple y firmas múltiples. Yo personalmente lo utilizo para almacenar mis Bitcoins, ya que me siento mucho más seguro manteniendo mis Bitcoins en una billetera fría que en una almacenada, por ejemplo, en mi teléfono. Si estás pensando en adquirir uno para ti, no olvides utilizar el código de descuento de nuestro show, BitCorner Podcast. De esta forma estarás apoyando directamente el show y además obtendrás un 10% de descuento para la compra de tu billetera fría. And I think it will be really interesting to people to know how do you actually develop these things. I'm not talking about the technical part, but the process to get the tape, the cassette, or I don't know how to call it, but
the cartridge.
Yeah.
So I have this little device here. You can buy them online. Yeah. So once you create the game or the ROM, you can put it on here and put the game on, and you can write to it. So they're rewritable because I get the chips made in Australia. Actually, there's a manufacturer that makes Game Boy carts.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of people, because a lot of people are making like ROM hacks and things like that, like especially Pokemon ones. So there's a lot of stuff out there for it. You can get carts and whatnot. So yeah, this one's been really valuable for me for testing. I've got a couple of prototype carts around that I've been using for testing. Yeah.
But why is Australia specifically? You said like here in Australia, is there a specific reason on why you like retro games?
That I like retro games? No, I don't know. Like everyone's different, I guess. There's people all over the world. Yeah, I grew up with games. I grew up playing them. So yeah, I don't have many friends that I've only got one other friend that does a little bit of collecting, but I'm just the one, you know.
That's cool. And how long did it took to develop the entire game since the process that you find the idea of what you actually wanted to do to actually have the demo and then the launching of the game?
Well, there was a lot of testing first, like testing the platforming and whatnot. Yeah, testing was in ideas were about 6 months or so, and then doing all the backgrounds, all the sprite work, all the characters, all the, you know, that took. I mean, I was doing that sort of mixed in with making the game itself. Yeah, it's probably like half a year for just designing and getting things, figuring out what I'm going to do, and then the rest 2 years of just actually just creating.
All right. And why specifically a Game Boy? It's easier to develop, or
yeah, it's easier to develop. There's a lot of software out there for it. I think it's because it's such a simple device. Like it's like a calculator. This thing, like it's a similar chipset to a calculator, so it's very, very more simple. So also the pixel ratio, the amount of pixels, is much less, so it's much quicker to develop pixel characters. Much quicker to draw because the bigger it is, the pixels, the longer it takes. Yeah, so so I had to develop it also for the Game Boy Color as well. So everything's in 4 shades of grey, and then they could be connected to 4 different colors in each tile. So a tile. So I don't know if you know this, but when you create things like backgrounds and stuff, there's only a limited amount of RAM. So you need to use multiple of the same 8x8 pixel tiles. That's why you see a lot of repetitions of like windows and things to save on that RAM. So, I had to balance that and not use too many unique tiles for each scene.
And I have a question because there's a Game Boy, right? That console that the color scale is not actually gray; it's like green, or is because the console keep that color, or is that color specifically? I don't know if you have seen that. Some of the games are actually
this has got like a greenish background.
But it's gray or it's green.
Well, I just call it grey, but it's like a slight green color. Yeah. So it's because the background, the LCD is green. So, but if you're looking at it in terms of just data, it's 4 shades of grey, green, sort of thing. Yeah.
No, yeah, and I was asking about why Game Boy? Because it's a very specific niche. I don't know if you made, I probably you do, like you did the research about if it's quite easy to get a Game Boy console right now in the market. Because of course the ones that are going to have are millennials if they keep it and they value it. But if you want to have one.
You can get secondhand Game Boys and stuff, but there's actually some new people making Game Boys. The Pocket, what's it called? The Pocket, to my tongue. But they make that brand new console now with the cartridge.
I have seen one that is called the Retro, I think, that they make a 3D Nintendo. Have you seen that? That they're making a
analog. It's called the Analog Pocket. So right
now they have this analog 3D as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And you asked before about another reason why I chose Game Boys, because with Bitcoin, it's almost like we're starting the financial system all over again. We're starting afresh, where we've gone from the legacy to the new digital currency. So I thought, games now, you got AAA games, but you got a lot of like dodgy ones like microtransactions, phone games, oversaturation of those sort of games. So I thought, what better way with the new financial system is to go back to the original games and start afresh, where a game when it's released is complete instead of updates. Broken game when it's released and bringing updates on the way. With cartridges, you can't do that. It has to be beta tested and complete.
That's true. There are, I mean, not talking about the plebs, but more about the politics. Bitcoin friendly? They don't care. How do you see that?
It's not on their radar, unfortunately. There is we have our main parties are Labour and Liberal, and both of them have not really indicated any sort of interest in Bitcoin right now. But we do have a new party that people are getting on board with called Libertarians. That some people are very pro Bitcoin. So I'm hoping they get more popular and we can have
at least they're not pushing regulations against Bitcoin to ban it, right?
But we still have things like capital gains tax if we sell. It's not welcoming, but I think we're going to be slow on the mark. We're definitely way behind El Salvador and in the US.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes, the snowball, right? The snowball effect. Now that Trump apparently he says promised that's going to do the Bitcoin strategic reserve, and Dennis Porter is also working on that. Maya Farbu from Suriname, she's a presidential candidate.
Yeah.
She's working,
pushing it. Yeah.
There's a lot of Bitcoiners doing their work to push it as much as they can.
And that's why I say, we all have different skills. We're all in Bitcoin. I think that there's always a way. If anyone is interested in making a business or doing something for Bitcoin, think about what you can provide. Like even if it's Bitcoin related exercises or something, if you're a trainer, or I think there's always something where you can tie Bitcoin to it and be unique. Because I always think if you're going to start something, be the first one to do it. I try to be the first one to make a Game Boy game for Bitcoin. So something unique and quirky, and hopefully that brings people to adopt Bitcoin faster.
Absolutely. Actually, this is a good topic, and probably people that want to start something new in Bitcoin. You use Geyser Fund, right?
Yes.
To this
amazing website. Anyone
you can share a bit your experience there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So the team at Geyser is amazing. They are constantly updating the site, constantly asking for feedback. You can talk to them directly on their Discord, and they work just like a Kickstarter does, but it's for Bitcoin. So it deals all in sats. And so if you have any project you want to make and fund, even if it's just like throwing a seminar to teach people in your local area about Bitcoin, which anyone can do, you can go there, get funds through peer-to-peer, and start something and get involved. And don't stop waiting on the sidelines. Everyone can.
And what advice could you give to anyone, just in general? Because I mean, what I have seen in Geyser, even me, I have a Geyser account. There's different topics, right? So you can develop video games, you can support a podcast, you can support a movie, a filmmaker, you can support Bitcoin communities, whatsoever. So what advice could you give? Because I think yours is one of the most successful ones there. So what advice could you give to anyone that now that you have passed all that path to do this video game?
I think having rewards for things that you're doing is really important, and having something very low, like if it's just $1, they can get their name mentioned in something, or in the credits, for example, for my game, and all the way up having different tiers. So because there's some people that have big money and they just love supporting. So I had a company tier level, and I got a lot of funding for that. Having different tiers is really important, because there's some people that just want to just give you $1, and some people want to give you thousands. So always have that in mind, no matter what you're doing. Even if you get having no bites, at least you've thrown your lure out there for potential funding.
And do you think it's better to have different deadlines to those tiers, or it just launch everything?
It's up to you. It depends how much stress you want. I like not having time. I don't like having timelines. I had a loose timeline. At the start, I had no timelines, but I had no deliverable. I had no rewards. I just had it out there for people who just wanted to donate. But then once I had rewards, that's when I started to have deadlines, just because I didn't want people to be waiting years for something,
And what was your biggest challenge to develop the whole game?
I think it's just having the time to spend on it every day, chipping away at it.
Really?
I was luckily I was able to get 6 months off work at one stage, And just if I didn't do that, I'd probably still be a couple of years away from finishing it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And all right, so I was going to ask you another question, but maybe for later, because I told you we have been talking a lot about games, and I told you I have a game. Unfortunately, it's not a console game, but it's a game. It's a trivia game. So for people that don't know, my previous guest have a question for my actual guest. You had to prepare a question for my next guest. So I gave you the opportunity to pick which one do you wanted to know, and you picked my next guest, so you know who my next guest is. But right now, you have a question that it needs to be answered. So I'm going to share with you.
Shoot.
What an amazing job you did with the hero of Bitcoin. Really, bro, I like it. I'm curious now about if you're going to do a second part of the game. And as I know, you really love the Bitax project and you're always involved about mining. Are you going to do something or add something regarding Bitax, or at least Netherminer, if you do a new game?
That's a good idea,
Well.
actually. Yeah, definitely. That would be very good for the second one.
All right, we're gonna start wrap it up. So, well, you also mentioned that it's going to be a second part, but you don't promise any deadline, right?
No, I want to keep myself open, and I could easily just release something that's junk, but I want to put the effort into it and make it good. I don't want people to be disappointed. So I want to make sure I don't care how long it takes. Once I'm happy with it, I'll release it. But look forward to it. It's gonna, as I said, it's gonna be like Zelda a bit. So with the sword,
awesome,
eagle down view.
That's cool. So we're gonna also have weapons like the sword and the
the sword. So you never, because the demo doesn't really show it, but in the game, Hero Bitcoin, the original one, you find the sword of Satoshi, and it's not a replacement for Bitcoin. It's for fighting the evil bankers and all that. So it speeds up adoption. It's really fun because in the game you have to power it up with lightning, and you meet Michael Saylor, and Michael Saylor is hilarious when you talk to him, because all of his dialogue is all of his quotes. So all his famous quotes, he just talks with his famous quotes because they're so amazing. So it's pretty funny. Yeah, I hope people enjoy that.
And how long does it last, the entire game?
It's not a long game. It's like an hour and a half or something. And I mean, if you rushed it, like if you just ran through everything, it's probably 20 minutes, 10 minutes. I don't know. If you speed run it. Yeah, if you speed run it, it's really short. But with the story, it's got a long story. It's just a bit of fun.
That's good. No, because probably there are gamers and gamers, and I'm quite a gamer that I like to go at a slow pace, because, for example, the Pokemon games that we were discussing, I think in average it's like 4 hours of gaming, maybe 4 or 5 hours. And right now I have 20 hours in the same game because I'm going to a slow pace, because I like to enjoy it. So probably 1 hour and 30 could be like 5 hours of yours, so people can enjoy it. I don't know. And all right, so I had 2 more questions. One is, which one is your favorite game of all time in any console?
Okay, I'm just gonna say.
And why? And why? We need to know why.
Okay, Secret of Mana for the Super Nintendo.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, so it's a hack and slash game.
Huh?
You get a dragon that you can fly all over the world. It was like one of the first games that I was introduced to, like a big world map. Because in Australia, we never got Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger. It never came out until PlayStation 1. So this was my first introduction to like an RPG style game. And just traveling around the world and you could play 3 players at once was such an amazing game. So the Sword of Satoshi and all that is inspired by this game, because it also, you find the sword in the stone, which is the same as Sword of Satoshi. So heavily inspired my game.
That's so cool. And what people can expect about the game? Or let me rephrase it. What do you expect that people can take away from the video game when they finally complete it?
I hope that they are proud that they've put their proof of work in to finish a difficult game, and then I hope they display it proudly on their shelf that they've accomplished something, showing their proof of work.
That's awesome. By the way, do you still play retro games, or do you play more retro games than nowadays games, or what do you prefer most?
I prefer retro games nowadays.
Oh, me too, man.
I mean, there's a couple of games I like on the new consoles. Like, I'm waiting for the new Monster Hunter. That's pretty fun. Apart from that, yeah, I really love the retro games because, I mean, there's so much to choose from. Why need any more? You know, there's thousands of games to choose from. So many different genres. And they're so easy accessible nowadays. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Me, my personal take is that I also like retro games, especially since with this console that I bought. But the last game that actually I played is Hogwarts Legacy, and it was quite nice. I love it. It was super nice.
Yeah, it looked nice. I never played it, but I actually wanted to play that. It looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and there's a lot of them. But yeah. All right, Hero, thank you for your time. Thank you for this chat. You need to go to El Salvador. I know you're far, really far.
Yeah, I really want to go there one day.
Yeah.
One day, when hopefully the president finds out about Hero Bitcoin and he flies me down. That's what I'm hoping.
I'll do my best. I have a contact of another contact, so I'll tell this person. So if she can or he can tell Bukele about this video.
Yeah,
game.
he's a main character in the game. Just tell him that next time you see him.
Yeah, and you can actually win more Bitcoins, so they can.
That's
no,
right.
Just kidding. All right, man. Thank you very much. I know that it's super late there, so thank you for the time, and we will catch up.
No worries. Thanks for having me. See ya.
All right, guys. See you next week. Ciao.